the one thing that I wanted to ask you about Masaan was that how did this particular story come to your mind to, tell the world? How did you come up with Masaan?
Actually, this was way back, when I was in corporate, and my flatmate at the time was from Gorakhpur, Vivek Singh. He told me about, there are these ghats that exist in Banaras and where people actually burn and cremate bodies, and that's what they do their entire lives. And I was quite fascinated by the story. And while going back to work, home from work, I just concocted a story of a short story of a little boy who works on the ghat, and he keeps fancying this little girl who's a Brahmin girl. And every time she comes in front of him, he just freezes, he can't talk. And he tries many times, but he can't talk. And so he goes back to his work, cremating and stuff. And one day her body comes in to cremate. And my roommate was like, dude, that's like quite grim. And somehow that story stuck with me and it kept haunting me for like 2 years. And so that's why when I quit my job, when I got in, first thing I wrote was a screenplay of that. Okay. And, a lot of it came from also world building, because not many filmmakers do that. Is that world building is so essential that you have to, as a creator, if you're not fully aware of your world or your milieu, there's no point making it, because it's going to seem plastic. It's going to seem very, that you've not thought this through. So when we went to Banaras, I wanted to become a Banarasi. I mean, I spent 2 years learning the language. So I would hear how they speak, what do they do, what moves them, what are the things that bother them. And I became a Banarasi. And that's the same advice that I gave to Vicky when he came on board. As like, this place is not going to offer you, if you come around like a city slick backpacker who wants to learn and want to make a film. No, that doesn't work this way. You have to become. And every time that you're making a film, I feel that, so I deep dive anything that I do. I do a lot of research. Okay, research is super, super important. Most of your film gets made in the pre-production stage. Shoot, you just like execute it. But like the more time you spend in your pre-production, that's where the loot. And even in pre-production, it's the writing. Writing is the motherlode of filmmaking. I mean, you don't have good writing, you don't have a film at all. No matter how much craft you have, it's not going to help. And even in writing, before you hit the screenplay, there's a lot of hard work that has to be done. That is the meatier part of screenplay writing, because you try to understand the world, the people. And what I do is, like, if there's characters, I try to find people in the real life who are closer to my characters and spend time with them. Go to their house, see what they do, what do they eat, what do they talk about, what is their politics, what is their, all of those things need to be there. And like, for recently, even Geeli Pucchi, I wanted to understand the queer world of how. So I met a lot of my friends who were lesbians, and try to understand what is it that. So every time I'd write a draft, I would have them read it. And if you have to tell me, because see, lived experience you cannot replicate. Yeah. Okay, lived experience is something that you'll have to invite people who have it.
Hi Neeraj, absolutely loved Masaan.
Thanks,
yeah. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. At this moment, I'm writing a film with 4 characters, and there are times when I feel like hitting my head on the wall, because I'm thinking, how do we shift perspectives, right? How do we make a 4-character, a 4-protagonist film come alive? So I wanted to always ask you, did you always have Vicky Kaushal's character in mind as the person who will be in the center of the story, or did you have other options that you were exploring? Directorially, when you were directing, how do you
it was a 2-person story. It was like Devi and Deepak both their story. Okay. It wasn't like it was an add-on. I mean, of course, that germ was there. But when I first wrote that first horrible draft that I mentioned earlier, it was these 3 characters and these 4 characters who are intermingling. But in order to have that thing where you want to make it cohesive, is that you have to write down your theme. What is the theme that you want to do it? And your story has to have focus. All of them driving towards something. That is the connect. You have to find connecting factors. Like even Deepak is trying to find a life of decency. So is Devi. like their premises are different. That one of them is fighting off a guilt of having to see an acquaintance die in front of her, and the other one is trying to like find his place because he's a marginalized is a person from a marginalized community,
Community.
and he wants to find love and whatever. But both of them are having that theme of escape. Both of them want to get out of the city because this city judges them, one for their caste, one for their uh, particular incident that happened in their life, and both of them want an escape. So their journey is towards escape. So you'll have to find themes in these four characters and find commonalities to drive it around, and also make it seamless. It also happens through transitions. If you want to really study this kind of, you will have to watch all of Inarritu's films and study. When I say study, there's one thing what happens is when you watch a film, great films suck you in and make you forget that you're actually studying it. So what I do is I watch the film, okay, I get the excitement out of me. Love it, great film. Watch it again. And every time I do, I read this, I watch a scene, then I make notes. Okay, this is why this scene is about this person. This is how it's moving. This is what is happening. Then you can write down, like you should do this for yourself. Like analyze every Inarritu film. Because right from Amorous Sparrows to, I think, to the end of Babel, all of his films have had that. And you study that, it's in the writing, the transitions are in the writing. If you see, there's a shot of couple of kids running, cut to Brad Pitt's kids running in his house. So there's a very smart transition, like it brings you. So those are the transitions you'll understand. Those are things that you'll understand via how, what are the commonalities between each story.
But usually that's how I see the match cut thing is always what I see sort of.
But that's only a tool, okay? It's not going to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
It is only
Exactly.
a transition. So it's more an editing tool than a writing tool.
Yeah.
But I think the writer Arriaga, I think he wrote those transitions in, if I'm not mistaken. However, because they feel like they've been written, they can't be an editorial match cut. They've been genuinely written, because that thing of completely poor, living in an adobe, Middle Eastern kids running towards goats to privileged kids running with that is writing. That can't be, So that's what I feel. I think you should study. And trust me, don't be ashamed of like watching a lot of films. What I do is that anytime I have a certain word or a theme of films, I tend to watch everything. Because I don't want to like sound repetitive, or it, of course, and not that you repeat something that is already done, but also it hits a tangent in your head. You get an obtuse idea that you were not thinking. It just opens you up to that.
Hi, Neeraj. Great to have you with us. Love what you do, love your films, not just for how great they are, but because of the gender and caste politics. So my question is, I write a lot around caste, and the fix that I find myself in is if you want to say things subtly, and you're writing for the international market, you want your film to go to the international festivals, how to write them subtly, how to say things that are very unique to the subcontinent, subtly, yet effectively, and not letting them be on the nose or didactic.
The only thing that you need to understand is, primarily as a filmmaker, narrative is your biggest thing. Your biggest obsession should be narrative. The politics is always a secondary layer. And to learn that, you have to watch Satyajit Ray's films, because all his films are laden with politics. But you'll never see the politics coming to the fore. It is in the character motivation, in the characters, how it is affecting the last mile, and not verbalizing the politics. It applies to the same thing where exposition you say that, okay, show don't tell, applies to your politics as well. And you yourself have to be pretty fucking sure about your politics. If you aren't sure, please meet a lot of people who are experts in a certain realm. And if you're not part of that community, then you need to study it. You need to like totally give the lived experience and trust those experiences to put them in. But like I said, if you ever feel that, and it is very difficult when you write it, because you feel the kick that, oh, I'm doing something that it touches my heart, very close to my heart. I'm doing it, and you feel that you've done it. But your friends will tell you that it's not making a great story. You're just like, I can see that you are passionate about it, but and that's the same feedback Varun gave me on that, and it instantly hit me that yeah, I mean, I'm just too passionate about it. That's why I feel like I've got a great story, but no, I don't. I am just. It felt like headline filmmaking. You know, a lot of filmmakers do that. You take a headline, you make a scene out of it. It never adds up because if your characters do not inhabit that thing, if their world is not that, you will not buy into it, and you have to hide all your politics in premises, in the production design, in your motivations, what they do, in what are the decisions that they make. Everything has to be personal, but it is out of political backing, because of a political reason.